to call to order the Littleton Planning Commission for Monday, November 9th, 2020, regular meeting. Just want to introduce Pam Middleton, who's taking over for Colleen. So, Pam, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
You'll go ahead and take the roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Chair Rudnicki?
Here.
Vice Chair Schwartzbacher?
Here.
Commissioner Amon?
Here.
Commissioner Bolt?
Here.
Commissioner Coronado?
Here.
Commissioner Miller? Commissioner Muzegi?
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Here.
Commissioner Stallman?
Here.
Commissioner Miller sent an email saying that he would not be able to join us, so Commissioner Almond will be put into a voting position this evening.
Okay.
We have a quorum.
Good, thank you. Moderator will now take us through the process for our virtual meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners, staff, citizens, and guests. I'm Pam Middleton, Deputy City Clerk, and I will be the moderator for this evening's virtual meeting on the Planning Commission. We are streaming this meeting on Cable Channel 8, Facebook, and our website, littletongov.org. Those wishing to participate in any public comment portion of the meeting are advised to view the meeting on our website, as this broadcast has the least amount of delay. As always, citizen participation is encouraged during public comment and public hearing. To participate via phone, please call 669-900-6833, and when prompted, enter the webinar ID 985-3501-9479. You'll have two opportunities for public participation this evening, one during public comment and again during public hearing. If you wish to speak during either of these opportunities, please call in early and stay on the line. When public comment or public hearing is announced, press *9 to raise your hand to be recognized as a speaker. Microphones will be muted for all citizens calling in. Once recognized, speakers will be unmuted and will have 3 minutes to address the Planning Commission. The City Clerk will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining, and again when your time is up. We expect comments to be civil, disrespectful, and disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. For agenda items, the Chair will ask for a motion and a second, followed by a discussion and a vote. Votes on agenda items will be made using thumbs up for a yes vote and thumbs down for a no vote. The clerk will call each vote with all the ayes and nays. Again, if you plan to participating during public comments or the public hearing, please call 669-900-6833, and when prompted, enter webinar ID 985-3501-9479. Press *9 to raise your hand to speak.
Thank you. Okay. Next up is approval of agenda. You all have the agenda. Are there any changes, corrections, switching? Oh, we only have one item, so I assume we're good. Thank you. Move on to certificate of our minutes. This is ID 20-275, certification of the September 28th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Are there any changes or updates, what have you, for that for those minutes? Seeing no rush to speak, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve, based on the clerk's certification, the 28 September 2020 minutes of the Littleton Planning Commission.
Okay. Bruce has the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Craig. Any discussion? Please vote then. Again, thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no. And we are unanimous. Okay. Let's see. David, did you vote, by the way? Or did you? I didn't see. You weren't at the last, I don't think, that meeting, correct?
I did vote because I watched the video. I watched the meeting kind of as it was going on, even though I couldn't get on
I see.
myself.
Okay. So you can go ahead and vote if you watched it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So I voted.
All right, next item up is public comment. We'll let our moderator take us through the process. By the way, this is a public comment on items that are not on tonight's agenda. Make that clear. Go ahead, Pam.
Thank you. If you wish to address the Planning Commission under public comments and are not already in the queue to speak, please call 669-900-6833. And when prompted, enter webinar ID 985-3501-9479. Then press *9 to raise your hand to be recognized. Citizen microphones will be automatically muted until the citizen is called upon to speak. Citizens will be recognized by the last 3 digits of their phone number. When called on to speak, please state your name and district or address for the record. Public comment is an opportunity to express opinions or ask questions regarding issues that are not part of the public hearing on tonight's agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and the city clerk will notify you when you have 30 seconds remaining, and then again when your time is up. Chair, we currently have 3 callers. The caller with the last 3 phone number digits of 122, you are first in line.
Pam,
and yes.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, this is Colleen. I'm going to interrupt.
Sorry.
We do have 3 callers in the queue. Nobody has raised their hand yet to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Callers, if you're in the queue and wish to speak during public comment, press *9 to raise your hand.
Okay, we have 1 person raising their hand right now. Okay. Caller with the last 3 digits of 819, please press *6 to unmute. And please remember to identify yourself before you begin speaking.
Hi, this is Pam Chadwick. I live in downtown Littleton, and a couple of comments tonight, Planning Commission. I note that you've had a lot of meetings canceled, but there were 2 really important ones in the past 3 months, and I'm going to comment on 2 of them. First of all, the August 28th meeting, where the Phase 2 code amendments for downtown were voted to be recommended for approval by City Council. I'd like to thank Commissioners Rudnicki and Schwartzbacher for trying to amend the suggested height limits and bring them down and try to make some of the specifications for the building types and requirements to be a little bit more like the character we have now. And I'd like to thank Commissioner Schwartzbacher for voting against them. The Phase 2 code changes were, and still are, a horrible combination of our good land use code and a very weird and unfamiliar use-based code. They shouldn't be combined. They're going to be hard to administer. And so thanks, Commissioner Schwartzbacher, for voting against that. And then on September 28th, when you folks considered my appeal of the site approval plan for 5423 South Prince, I'd like to thank alternate Almond for recognizing the merits of the appeal. I'm going to say that the city's argument is so weak because it's based on a definition of townhome or condo. And staff's claim that a unit is defined by the front door, I'm going to say, is clearly not true. The defining element of this slot home, these 6 slot homes, is the curb cut for the driveway that goes to 6 garages. And the 6 garages are bam, 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 taking up the whole back side. The defining element is the garage, not the front door. And the fact that 2 front doors were turned sideways to face Prince and the other 4 still face the north is the defining element of these units. I'm appalled at
30 seconds.
the way that staff and Planning Commission chose to take an out on this. And it should point out to you, I think, the weaknesses of our code approach that's going on now. The haste, the lack of review, the lack of understanding, the lack of applied examples. This is a horrible process, and these are bad products that are going to result in a difficult city to manage in the next 60 years. Thanks very much.
Do we have any other speakers?
Speakers, if you would like to speak, could you please press star 9 to raise your hand? Speaker, caller with the last phone number digits of 122. If you could please press star 6 and you will be unmuted.
Good evening. My name is Mike Williams, and my wife and I own 5869 South Curtis. It's a little threeplex right next to the Arapahoe Community College building. My concern on the code change, and I don't know if it is too late to address with you all or not, is the rear setbacks. Under 10418M and L, which have to do with the townhomes and apartment buildings, there's a 20-foot setback off the alley. And my concern is, given that our house is 100 and some years old, that if we were to tear it down and build something that fits better in the neighborhood and accommodates renters on that lot, that we would have a difficult time with the 20-foot rear setback off of the alley, since the home that sits on the back now has a 0 setback. And I would just ask for some consideration or comments on how we could address that on the code change with the downtown Littleton change. Thank you.
Can I ask staff a question about that? Staff?
Yes.
Okay. This gentleman could go to the Board of Adjustment. Is that correct?
That is correct. There is a Board of Adjustment for cases where variance is requested.
Okay, thank you. Any other speakers? Pam?
Any other callers? If you would like to speak, please press star 9 to raise your hand. It looks like the other 2 callers do not want to speak. So no more callers.
Could you speak up, please?
I said it looks like the 2 other callers that are on the line, that they have not raised their hand and do not want to speak.
Okay, we'll wait another 5 seconds here. Last chance. We'll move on then. Item number 5 is general business, which we have none tonight. So we'll roll right into item 6, which is our public hearing. Pam, go ahead and give your spiel again.
Thank you, sir. If you wish to address the Planning Commission under public comments and are not already in the queue to speak, please call 669-900-6833. And when prompted, enter the webinar ID 985-3501-9479, and then press star 9 to raise your hand. Citizen microphones will be automatically muted until the citizen is called upon to speak. Citizens will be recognized by the last 3 digits of their phone number. Oops, sorry. When called on to speak, please state your name and your district or address for the record.
Okay. I'll go ahead and introduce the resolution. PC Resolution 06-2020, recommending council approval of proposed ordinance 43-2020 to rezone the downtown Littleton area from various zoning districts to the DT zone and amending the official zoning map as set forth in Figure 10-2-18 character area map of Title 10. Could we please have a staff presentation?
Yes. Yes, we can. Okay, so our presentation this evening, let me put this on slideshow here real quick. So this evening, our focus is on the map, and the map as proposed in the new Title 10 is what is for discussion this evening. I'm going to turn it over at this time to Mike Sutherland, Deputy Community Development Director, for the remaining of this presentation.
Thanks, Jen. So to start off, I'd like to give a brief picture of the timeline of this action, and note that this is the culmination of a fairly extended process of receiving comments. Our first neighborhood meetings were the studio sessions early in spring, and then, as noted, we put out the draft downtown regulations in July for public comment. Then on August 17th, this item went to the Historical Preservation Board, who recommended approval with conditions. The next step was on August 31st, where the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider the details of the DT zone district and recommended approval with conditions. Then on October 6th, the downtown zone district was created and adopted by City Council. On October 22nd, staff posted notification and published in the Littleton Independent. November 9th is tonight, and we're here to discuss applying the new downtown zone district to approximately 180 acre area in downtown Littleton. And then December 1st is the first reading of this proposed ordinance. That's a tentative date. And December 15th would be the second public hearing where council will be able to take action on the proposed resolution, ordinance, excuse me. So the criteria for approval of a rezoning is whether the rezoning meets the declaration of public policy as stated in the Littleton City Code. Title 10, Chapter 12, subparagraph 1 indicates that all rezonings must be consistent with the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan, and they should promote the general welfare of the community. The rezone map, as shown on the screen, is consistent with the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan, and staff did an in-depth analysis which was attached to your packet this evening. And we believe it does promote the general welfare of the community through the implementation of the recently adopted comprehensive plan. So this 180 acre area is bounded on the south by West Church Avenue, on the west by South Santa Fe Drive, on the east by the BNSF railroad tracks, and on the north by West Bellevue Avenue. Currently, there are 11 zone districts within this 180 acre area. And that is shown on the map on the left of this diagram. The proposed map would be changed to show this area within one zone district, which is the downtown zone district, which contains 4 character areas. The downtown Main Street is in dark blue. The downtown neighborhood residential is shown in yellow. The downtown transitional area is shown in light blue. And the downtown mixed use area is shown in red. Now, there are some variants of the downtown mixed use area that is shown in a white hatched area, so the red underlay with a white hatched area. is the downtown mixed-use area with a 3-story maximum. There are some other categories, public and institutional lands, which are the city building and the county building, as shown on either side of Crestline, and open space areas. Next slide, please. So we took a look at the different properties that are within the current zone districts and within the proposed character areas. So you'll see there's a total of 448 properties that are affected by this ordinance. And the total land area of these properties, which excludes right-of-way, is 121.3 acres. And you can get an idea of the average lot size of the character areas, each individual character area, and each individual zone district. And staff use those average lot sizes to sort of compare the change between the existing zoning and the proposed zoning. Next slide, please. So, in conclusion, staff recommends approval of the proposed zoning map and a recommendation of approval to City Council for the proposed ordinance. That concludes my presentation. And if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Okay. Bring up the screen that shows raised hands. Any questions of a technical nature to staff? Anyone? I see, Robin, go ahead, Robin.
I was just curious how many properties will be out of compliance under the new map?
You know, we're not absolutely certain exactly how many properties of those 448 would be out of compliance. And there's a variety of issues that could bring it out of compliance. One being the use, and the other being the buildings that are on the lot. We did in our outreach effort for the community, we did describe what non-compliance means, and that's included in the frequently asked questions within the website. And the fact, if a building is not in compliance with the proposed zoning district, it doesn't mean that the building has to be altered in any way. It doesn't mean that the property can't be sold, or a new property owner can't use the building as it was and occupy the building. And it doesn't necessarily preclude somebody from adding on to a building that's not in compliance, as long as they don't make the factor of non-compliance worse. My example was that if a building doesn't comply with the height requirements, it could be added on to as long as the addition complies with the new zoning regulations. The other piece of non-compliance is use. And if a building is legally permitted, if a use is legally permitted now, and that use is not permitted by the proposed zoning, that use can continue. And as long as the use is in continuous operation and doesn't cease continuous operation for a period of more than 12 months, that use can be sold to a new operator and they can use it the same way. The use can continue as it is. So I'm sorry I don't have an estimation of how many uses and how many structures are not in compliance, but there are factors within the new code that make allowances for those circumstances.
Thanks. One more question. You probably don't have the answer to this either, but maybe just a generality. with all the changes to the zoning, how many, not even a guesstimate, but just a general comment concerning how many properties now are going to have additional uses that they'll have, additional, we've got the height now that's been changed in other areas of what they are allowed to do. Would you say overall more properties are going to be allowed additional usage, or pretty much the same as now?
I would say overall that most properties will have additional uses that are allowed as a result of the code change. Now, I think the notable exception would possibly be some areas that are currently zoned CA might be in the downtown neighborhood residential character area. And that would probably be the one change that would have more restricted uses applied. Not that the downtown neighborhood residential character area doesn't allow commercial use. It does allow offices up to 8,000 square feet in area. But if a property changes from the central area zone district, which allows a wide variety of uses, to the downtown neighborhood residential area, that's those few properties would probably be most restricted in their new uses allowed.
Thank you. No more questions.
Okay. Craig, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chair Nikki. Question, we're changing what's now several zone districts into a single zone district with several character areas. And I wonder if you could describe in practice how the application of, say a variance would occur within that framework. We mentioned before, the Zoning Board of Appeals is there for considering adjustments or changes to certain aspects of what's required in zoning. Would they also administer changes within character areas?
That's a good question. Thank you. The current operation of the Board of Adjustment would not change. If there was a lot or a building that a person wanted to add on to, and there was some sort of hardship, they can make an application for a variance to the requirements of this new zoning district, which is the DT district. And as you know, the character areas have their own unique requirements, and they can make a property owner or a citizen can make a variance request to adjust any aspect of those building requirements, except for uses which are not a subject of a variance request. They could go to the Zoning Board of Adjustment and have their case heard. Does that answer your question, or was there a second aspect that I was missing?
No, that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. There, one other part. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you had asked if the Zoning Board of Adjustment would alter the map, and I do not think that the Zoning Board of Adjustment would have the authority to alter the map once it's approved. That would be the purview of the Planning Commission to make a recommendation and the City Council to act on. And Reed, if I misspoke, please let me know.
No, you're correct.
Bruce, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Real quick, Mike, you had I think addressed this, but I was going to, with one of Robin's questions concerning the CA to the move from the CA zone to the DNR zone. But specifically, and with respect to the couple of email I think that we received as part of the quote unquote packet, the properties along Prince Street that had been CA that are now DNR, just the logic for that change. Can you talk a little bit about what the thought process was there, so for context purposes?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So through the public process and the neighborhood meetings and the different outreach that we've done since spring, that area was discussed along the west side of Prince Street as to what's the most appropriate character area for those homes. And my understanding through that process, and I'm not sure exactly who made these comments, whether it was the Historical Preservation Board or members of the public, there are several houses on that street frontage on the west side that are very supportive of the historic character of downtown Littleton and are kind of treasures along that street. And it was initially discussed whether that should be in the 3-story max area of the downtown mixed use character area or in neighborhood residential. And I think through that process, it was suggested that that be changed to neighborhood residential to protect the form of the buildings that were there, and to assure that future development of those lots would fit in more with the character of the historic homes along that street.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else? I don't see any other hands up other than mine. Anybody else want to just chime in? Seeing none. Just a bit of clarification. Commissioner Stallman purloined my main question. But clarification, the houses on the west side of that area we've been talking about, none of them are historic. They could be torn down and they could be rebuilt conforming to the DNR district or sub area, let's call it. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chairman. There has been talk of in the past of historic district along that area, but no implementation of that. None of those structures are protected as part of a historic district.
Okay. I counted maybe 4 of the structures that are quite notable and very nice examples of 100-year-old, 110-year-old Littleton architecture. So,
yes, surveys have been done on several of those properties, but none of them have the designation, to my knowledge.
Okay. If it were switched to DN, what do you call it? D mixed use, 3-story limit, and what's the height limit along with the 3-story?
45 feet.
45. Okay. That's all the questions I have. Anyone else? Take a look at my screen here. No one else. So, unless anybody has an objection, we'll move on to the public comment here. Pam, go ahead and take your turn.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
Do you want to open the public hearing at a specific time before
Yes,
Pam does that?
Thank you. Open the public hearing at 7:04.
Okay. If you would like to speak on this topic during the public hearing and are not already in the queue, please call 669-900-6833. And when prompted, enter the webinar ID 985-3 3501 9479. Once on the line, press *9 to raise your hand to be recognized. Currently, there are 4 callers. One has their hand raised. Caller with the last 3 digits of 438. Kindly press *6, identify yourself, and speak now.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hey, my name is John Brady. I'm a Littleton resident. I live on the outskirts of downtown and hope to be moving to the downtown area soon. And I'll just start with my request. So just looking at the map, you've got the area that's just north of Westbury with the white hatch marks, where that would be considered I know it's not its own character area, but it sort of has an asterisk where the maximum height of buildings in that area is 3 stories, 45 feet, 3 stories. So my request is to move that area just south of Westbury, and that block on the map where you have Powers to the south, Prince Street to the west, Sycamore to the east, and then Berry to the north. That whole block right there, which is right now designated DMU, make that area a 3-story max. And my rationale for that request is to the west of that block is residential, and then to the east of the block, although it's in a DMU zone, is predominantly residential. So you've got residents on to the west and to the east of that block. And, you know, the potential for future development on that block that's going to be 55 feet high, I just don't think that's going to be a good flow for that particular area of downtown. And so I have some questions. I don't know if they'll be answered, but I've just put them out there. In considering my request, I would like to understand, you know, what was the rationale behind designating that area to the north of Berry as 3-story max, and could that rationale be used for that particular block? And I will say that I've actually bumped into some residents that live on that street. I talked to 3 of them, and none of the 3 even knew about this rezoning effort. So I understand the city has made efforts to reach out to the residents of downtown, but potentially you really haven't gotten great feedback from everyone, and I understand it's just the way it is sometimes. But my guess is, even talking to those 3,
30 seconds.
They shared my same sentiment in terms of sort of minimizing the building height in that particular block. So not asking to change the definitions of the character areas, because that's already been decided, but since there's still an opportunity to change the character areas on this map, again, I'll just finish with that particular block that I referenced. If you could make that a 3-story max zone, that would be great. Thank you for your time.
Steph, before we go to the next caller, could you let us know what the notification was for property owners within the football?
Certainly, we, in addition to putting a notification in the Littleton Sentinel, we have, beg your pardon?
Littleton Independent.
Oh, excuse me, Littleton Independent. Sorry about that, Littleton Independent. We also posted several locations around the area and sent letters to every address and property owner within the 700 feet, within the area, and also 700 feet surrounding the area.
It was over 2,000 notifications that went out by mail.
Okay. Thank you for that. Pam, any other speakers?
There are some callers. Callers, would you please press *9 if you would like to speak? Caller with the last 3 digits of 443. You are the next caller. Please press *6 and you will be unmuted.
Yeah, hi there. My name is Robin Bernstein, and I'm over at Geneva Village. And I think you guys have changed Geneva Village zoning from public institution to mixed use without us knowing, you know. And, well, you know, what would happen when, you know, if you guys want to develop this place with all the trees and, you know, the squirrels, and, you know, it's a gateway to Littleton, Geneva Village. And I just think that, you know, you should focus on the parking situation. I don't have a car. I haven't had a car for 20 years, and it's extremely dangerous walking, you know, from even to the light rail. For me, I take a big flashlight when I walk, and I'm just curious what you all are going to do about the parking when you build everything, because it's already, you know, the traffic is exorbitant, and I see, you know, accidents all the time. So, you know, it'll just clog everything more. And then we all have affordable housing here at Geneva Village. So what are you going to do about us? So I just think it's a haven here. And I know that you've catched market, you know, on your map. So I think you should change it back the way it was with, you know, because you didn't tell us all. And so that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I'll ask staff another question. What's the current zoning of the Geneva Village area?
Great question. So the current zoning over there is CA. It is not public institutional. So it is CA, and what is being proposed, or what it is now, is downtown mixed use.
Okay.
And I can chime in with more excitement if you would like, Chairman Rudnicki.
Go ahead.
The original zoning for Geneva Village, which was adopted in 1960, was industrial park. At some point, and I want to say was 1962, it was rezoned to R4. I don't know the exact date, but it then went to be rezoned to R5. And I want to say it's been CA since 1998.
Oh. So not back when Jimmy Carter and our full zoning code was redone. It was more recent rezoning. Interesting. Okay. And height limit in the CA is 40 foot. Minimum setbacks, if any. That's what's allowed in the CA district, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. Another speaker?
Speaker with the last three digits of 819. You are next. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Pam Chadwick. I actually do live downtown. I've got a couple of requests, and one of them, I'll just clarify, is Geneva Village. Interestingly, if you look at the whole property between Crestline, Prince, Berry, and Rio Grande, the city center was changed from CA to PI, that's public institutional. Geneva Village should likewise be changed to public institutional, and then Geneva Park was changed to open space. Geneva Village right now serves the city more as open space because the trees, there's very small single story structures there which provide affordable housing to people who need it, changing it to mixed use. And you are changing it. The proposal is to change it. The change should be to PI, just as the city center has been made and the Arapahoe County offices. It's appalling that it's been made this way. It's on an entryway or gateway along Prince Street to historic downtown. And I think I've pointed this out before. Our current code has some sensitivity to that, which is totally being blown out of the water here. It's weird that the buildings across the street on the west side of Prince are saying, oh, let's keep those, but let's blow away Geneva Village and make it 3-story massive density. No. Planning Commission, the issue here is that the ULUC is supposed to proceed after this. And the proposal even says we're doing this as an early step. This is a major change. Geneva Village should not be made mixed use at this time. It can be considered for that change later. Same thing with the apartments that are on the north end of this map, changed to mixed use. No. The industrial property, keep it industrial. We need jobs down here. Changing it to mixed use is absurd. The first speaker who talked about what are your design principles, there were none here. We don't know what you're trying to accomplish here. Somebody wants something and somebody's getting something, but it ain't us who live here. This is not for us. This is not for the general welfare. It has raised property taxes. It has driven out and displaced people who are poor, whether they're renters or whether they're owners. They are gone. Where are your assurances and fixes for displacement? There should be a policy of no displacement, and this map should reflect that, and it isn't there.
30 seconds.
Planning Commission, you need to turn down this map. Tell staff to go back and make it much more like what the current character is. Remember, that was the initial promise. We're going to have this be in phase 2 like the current character, and then the ULUC will consider changes. I'm also going to mention also the property at Crestline and Santa Fe. Look at it changed. It should be R5. It's changed. No.
That is time.
Planning Commission, please turn this down. Thanks very much.
Any other speakers?
Yes, sir. This caller with the last 3 digits of 815, please press *6 and you will be unmuted. Please remember to identify yourself.
Hello, this is Bonnie Chaplin Summerall, and I'm the owner of Littleton Office and Apartments at 2329 West Main Street and 5654 South Prince. We've owned this since 1992, and it takes up all the block north of Main Street. If you can look on your map, it's north of Main, east of Prince, and then bordered on the north by Powers and the east by Sycamore. So you're trying to change that to Main Street zoning. And the Main Street building's been there since 1919 and is part of the history of the area. And your change would make that a non-conforming building, as it would also make the apartment building a non-conforming building. I understand that it would continue to be legal, but it would unduly restrict our ability to do business there and any kind of changes we would want to make. The one lady mentioned a parking problem. Well, if we want to build a parking garage, forget it. And the setbacks requirement doesn't allow for adequate parking. So it seems to put an undue burden on us as the property owner. Today is the first day that I got this letter. If this is the only letter you sent out, it was not delivered until a couple of days ago and wasn't brought to me until now. I would just appreciate you all taking this block. This block of the build is right at the edge of the property. So if you could take that block out, I would much appreciate it and leave it as it currently is zoned. And otherwise, you're taking away some of my rights as a property owner, and I just don't think that's the way Littleton is used to doing business. So I would appreciate feedback here.
Bonnie, can I ask a clarifying question? Are you talking about the building that the ice cream shop is in? Bonnie, are you still there?
She's no longer on the line.
Okay.
I'm not sure what particular property she's talking about.
I am not positive either.
Anybody else have an idea?
Okay, here I am again. It's at 2329 West Main. It's a 3-story brick office building that it was built in 1919. It's not the corner of Prince and Main, but it's just east of the corner. It borders. And then the other one is a apartment building with retail underneath, the ice cream place that she's talking about on Prince Street. So it's a big property, and it's a main part of downtown's history. And it just, do you know which one I'm talking about? And I guess I can't hear you if you can hear me, so.
Okay, I think we've got an idea where the property is. Any other speakers?
No, sir. There are no more speakers.
So it's right at the edge of what you're trying to change. So that's the other point that I'm making. It's just you could take that block out and then it would be okay. Thank you.
Okay, now, do we have any other speakers?
No, sir.
No?
Nope.
Say we do. Okay, go ahead.
No, sir. I'm sorry. I must have a bad connection. There are no more speakers.
No more speakers. Okay. Then we'll close the public portion of the hearing at 7:20. So we'll go into a motion. Anyone? And then discussion. You're not committing to voting on it if you make the motion. It's just to get the ball rolling here.
I move to approve PC Resolution 06-2020, recommending council approval of proposed ordinance 43-2020.
We have a second?
Second that, Commissioner Reynolds.
Ms. Reynolds? Okay. Thank you. We'll go to discussion. Rather than raise hands, we'll go right down the line as usual. Just throwing a dart here. Bruce, go ahead.
Well,
and by the way, if you wish to make an amendment, now would be the time to do so as well.
yeah. Let me ask staff, this issue of specific requests for individual parcels. You know, for example, the last speaker talk about, you know, the integrity of the map in totality from the standpoint of what we're trying to accomplish here versus, you know, what latitude, for example, you know, is she going to have hypothetically, given this zoning change, to potentially, she'd talked about, for example, adding parking. I mean, you know, my interpretation of it would be that she would have the latitude to do that under the new zone, but I'd prefer some guidance here.
So one of the things that I'm going to have Reed jump in here. So just a reminder, the purpose of this evening are the character areas and the boundaries, do you agree with them? And basically how this has gone down so far is this has been vetted through a public process. The map has had several iterations to get to where we are. It is part of our Title 10. So having one property be able to change it isn't exactly what we're looking for. Reed, do you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, to echo on a few things that you touched on, Jennifer, when we're doing zoning map amendment, really the only criteria that council has to guide it, or planning commission in our case, is whether or not what we're doing on the map is consistent with the comp plan. Can there be some minor tweaks to the various character areas? The answer is yes, but I would be thoughtful about doing that just because, you know, for example, so there was at least a gentleman who had made a comment earlier about, well, why don't you change the mixed use, or I'll pull up my map here. Well, the DTDMU, and just move that further south and take up the next block. You know, some of the challenges with, you know, kind of moving the line is that you end up moving the line on other properties who haven't had notification that that was their intended zoning. So the notifications that's gone out, and we have individuals who may have gone online, pulled up the agenda, pulled up the packet, took a look and said, I'm going to be, CA, or excuse me, we don't have CAs anymore. I'm going to be DTA. No big deal, works for me. And they tune out, and then they tune in the next day to find out, hey, you're actually a completely different zoning than what they were noticed as. So I would be thoughtful as a commission in kind of moving those boundaries. I'm not saying it's not possible to do. I would just be careful on how we do that. Clear as mud?
Well, maybe not unclear, but yeah, I respect your comment that it's not as overtly simple as just saying, well, this parcel was this, it's now that kind of thing. I mean, this is an integrated whole, if I'm interpreting it correctly, and there's some reasons for how it's set up this way. And maybe do this then, talk the process down the road as we get further into the ULUC. The ability to modify beyond this quote unquote initial or preliminary step. Talk a little bit about that in context, if you will.
I'll probably defer to Jennifer, but I will say this is not the last time as we go through the ULUC that Planning Commission, the public, or City Council is going to see this map. Once we go through kind of towards the end, once we start doing the entire kind of rezone process for the city and adopting all this within the ULUC, all of it can be changed. And perhaps, hopefully we've moved on for a little bit, but there are opportunities going forward to revisit this. Additionally, all property owners can petition the city, not the smoothest route, but there is, opportunities for an individual to come in, a property owner, and ask to have a property rezoned. We obviously would like to get it right the first time, but, nothing is necessarily set in stone, as you all know. Jennifer, I don't know if you want to add anything to kind of the process going forward and kind of the timeline involved and when we may take another look at kind of the downtown area.
Right. And I think, Bruce, going back to your original question on, how we got to this point, I think it is important to remember that we started with the future land use map that was approved in October 2019. And so if you look at that future land use map, you will see a lot of similarities to what we ended up having here in front of you this evening. So that is one thing to keep in mind. And to Reed's point, as we move along in this process, as you'll recall, there are different building blocks. And even earlier this evening, we kind of had the kickoff to our mixed use corridor block. So that's going to have zoning implications, obviously, as well. So as we start to put all these building blocks together, a new zoning map is going to start to emerge. And we will have to go back. We will learn things and need to go back to downtown and say, yep, we need to massage this a little bit, or change this, or change this aspect of the code, or this boundary line, just from things that we learned over the next 12 months. So we will have an opportunity to go back.
Okay. Thank you for that. I had one additional question, and it had to do with the application document where we went through all the component pieces. Jennifer, I think you were filling it out as, since it's your request via the application, but there was a comment in there on sort of the economics section where it talked about using financing opportunities to do certain things in conjunction with the land use code. And I guess just maybe an observation, it's potentially reasonable to say we can use various financing, mechanisms was the word I was looking for, vehicles, if you will. But it sort of presupposes we've got the enthusiasm as a community to kind of do that sort of thing. I mean, we, generally speaking, I know we did the certificates of participation or the COPS offerings a number of years ago when we refurbished the courthouse. And I think they were used, that structure was used as well for the museum. But at the same point in time, we had the Littleton Invests for Tomorrow board, which was disbanded. And I guess I'm wondering from staff's perspective, is it
No, I don't.
fair to, sorry, it's fair to say, yeah, there are tools in the toolbox, but if we're not really in a position to use those tools, is it something that we should even put out there on the table?
Bruce, I am not quite sure on the economic part of the application what you're referring to. Can you clarify that for me?
Yeah, I probably can here. Hang on, let's see. It was actually infrastructure and services. It says on page 10, the city can employ financing and special district mechanisms that advance the community's economic development and growth management objectives while supporting beneficial private development and reinvestment. Which, as I said, that sounds reasonable. But other than a few things a number of years ago, do we really have the latitude to go down that road? We haven't done anything. We haven't gone down anything like a business improvement district or anything for parking, for example. So I'm just asking the question. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I just thought that was an interesting comment to put in the middle of this thing, given that we haven't really taken advantage of those opportunities as a community demonstrably up to this point in time.
Commissioner Stolman, is that in the comprehensive plan checklist? The big table that's included with the application packet?
Now it's could be. Yeah. It's
so that language is taken right out of the comp plan.
Yeah, it's actually in terms of the packet page number, it's page 31 of 60.
So taken right out of the comp plan.
Right. So that was one of the pieces that we had to do as part of the application, and it lists every policy and goal of the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
On the left-hand side, and then how this facilitates that goal on the right-hand side. Now, I think I'm not sure exactly which goal we're referring to, but it may be that some of those were not applicable or NA, as they're shown on the chart. So some of the goals and policies, as you pointed out, were not necessarily applicable to this rezoning process. Okay. And several of them were in that
infrastructure and services.
Yeah, infrastructure and services portion of the goals and policies. And so you might note that on the right-hand side, a lot of those are marked not applicable to this rezoning application. But we did try and respond to as many of the goals as we thought were applicable.
Yeah, now fair point, well presented. I appreciate what you're saying. That's all I've got, Chair.
Okay. Faisal, we'll go to you.
No comments.
Okay. Sherry, go ahead.
I believe that the rezoning and the affiliated rezoning map are very consistent with the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. Therefore, I will be supporting it.
Jason?
Yeah, I think I echo what Commissioner Allman said about the conformity with the comprehensive plan, and really appreciated the work the staff put into identifying which areas of the comprehensive plan this map amendment aligns with. I did have one thing I wanted to confirm with staff, and that is that office is an allowed use in the downtown neighborhood residential, the DNR character area. I believe that was up to 8,000 square feet of office use is allowable in any of that district.
That is correct. And anything over 8,000 square feet would need a conditional use.
And tell us what kind of uses could be within that 8,000 or 8,000 plus with condition.
So office uses, for example, would include a medical office, a business office, such as a real estate office, a law office, and potentially some personal services that involve more office work. There is a photography studio that's currently in the area, and my interpretation would be that that is a personal service that is very similar to an office type use, and I think would be allowed in the proposed zoning.
Thank you. Appreciate that, staff. And my other question was answered earlier regarding height in the CA district, which is 40 feet tall. So thank you for that. And this may be more of a question for legal. I think some of the letters and perhaps one of the callers expressed concerns about losing hypothetical uses as a result of this map amendment, and how might that interact with the city's police powers through zoning and the law regarding takings.
Nice question. I would say takings law as it relates to property is a pretty high standard. Essentially, a regulatory taking with a rezoning, you would have to do a lot as a city for that to actually pass muster. Essentially, to the point where you'd almost have to take all value from a property, is how the current case law has been trending and been said regarding regulatory takings from a city. It is certainly within the city's police powers to promote the general welfare, safety, and health of its citizens. So rezoning happens all the time. I can certainly appreciate that certain property owners who may have purchased a property in hopes of perhaps an investment, changing that use to something different in the future, whenever that would come, would be disappointing at that to learn that, but it's certainly within the city's powers to go about and rezone certain properties. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. Thank you very much. And that concludes my questions.
David, you're up next.
Okay. Given that we've seen versions of this map for quite a long time, and I think I read today that the City Council has approved and adopted the text changes related to this map. And my opinion that the map and those changes are consistent with the comp plan. I'm going to probably support this, whatever it's called. So that's my statement.
Okay, Craig.
Okay, well, it's obviously been a long and rigorous process that's led to the development of the character areas and the map that underpins this zoning. And so I do fully agree that the character areas, as they're developed, are consistent with the comprehensive plan, in my opinion. I am a little concerned about the map boundaries, especially given the recent feedback we've had from folks that live in and around those areas and might be impacted by those. I'm especially concerned to hear that some folks have just recently heard about it. Whether they haven't been engaged or whether the mailers or whatever didn't get out to them. That's a little bit disturbing. But at the same, and if I was to go and draw the map myself now, I might tweak it a bit, but I haven't been involved in the whole process, so that I would not obviously recognize the repercussions of that. And so it would not be a wise thing to do. So I'll support the process and the work that's gone into it by staff and consultants and others that have had input, and trust that this map does represent consistency with the comp plan, and that it can be modified and adapted to meet the needs of all the landowners and residents in downtown toward a sort of common purpose that I think benefits all of us, the residents of Littleton. So that's all I have, Mark.
Thank you. Robin?
Nothing new to add. I do agree that it meets the goals and the policies. We all just, of course, need to keep in mind, as has been stated here, that it's not that this is the only thing that would work to fit these goals and policies. There's been much discussion about changing the map here or changing the map there. And this is what it has come out to be at this point in time. And it does comply.
Is that it? Thanks, Robin. I'll start out by saying that when zoning was first introduced in Littleton, somebody's rights was taken away, because before that it was carte blanche, build anything you want. So every time a zoning code is changed, some things, uses change, setbacks change, heights change. If we'd be against all change, we'd go back to the way Littleton was, when you could build anything you want on your property with no concern about heights or anything. You just do what you want. And obviously we're not going to do that. I did start out by thinking that I might introduce an amendment for the west side of Prince Street, the DNR area, and changing it to mixed use with a 3-story limit. There was some interesting arguments to do that from some of the letters. Reed caught me to the quick when he mentioned change that, and then properties to the west of Prince Street would be affected by the change that I would make tonight. So I'm not going to introduce that amendment. The zoning map and the entire ULAC can be changed. It can be changed a year from now when the entire city is redone. It also can be modified 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, when we learn from what we're doing and make the changes. I've been involved with zoning codes my entire 47 years of being an architect, and I can confidently say there's no such thing as a perfect zoning code. There's no such thing as a perfect unified land use code. It's impossible to have a perfect code. So Littleton is no exception. So we do the best we can. We move on and then make the changes as we learn from what we are approving. So I find that staff is their analysis, their very lengthy analysis of how this map and satisfies the items of the comprehensive plan, conforms and is consistent with the goals. and policies of the comprehensive plan and promotes the general welfare of the city. So I'll be supporting this this vote. Any other comments? Bruce, go ahead.
Yeah, I hadn't said this before, but you just encapsulated exactly what I wanted to say. I completely agree with what Chair Rudnicki just said in terms of supporting the recommendation to council as motioned.
Anyone else before we go to vote? Seeing none, a vote for is a thumbs up. Vote, of course, down is a thumbs down. So your thumbs. Deputy Clerk, can you give us the sum?
The vote is unanimous.
Okay, thank you. We'll now go on to comments and reports. Community Development Director, start with you.
Let's do it.
Okay, sorry, I had to take myself off mute here. So I hope all of you were on the Envision Studio. If not, we did record it. So we had 4 breakout sessions, and at least in the breakout session that Mike and I were doing, we had a very robust, fun conversation about zoning, and it was really fun to hear the different opinions. So I encourage you, if you were not able to attend, that you do the recording of that. That should be on the envisionlittleton.org site probably by the end of the week. So the next Envision Studio will be the 14th of December, which I'm just going to beg for your forgiveness right now, because the same night we will have a public hearing for a development project that has been in the works for over 2 years. So it is finally coming to you on the 14th of December. So we will have another double header. Yay! So arrange for your takeout in between the two events now. Yeah, sorry, David. It was what worked for the schedule. So that is coming up. We also are going to have a P4. If you'll remember, in phase 1, we had amended how we do the P4 process. So Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So we did make an amendment that will allow the applicant to give a presentation to the Planning Commission in the study session and to City Council. So my thought on this is that staff will give a very brief presentation, kind of just the facts on this P4. And then we'll turn it over to the applicant for a presentation and have the bulk of the time for the Planning Commission to ask questions of the applicant. And hopefully what we're steering for in both of these P4s is, without any commitments, indicating to the applicant whether this is supportable with certain, as long as they take care of certain red flag things or concerns that might be noted, or if this is difficult to support, which the applicant kind of needs to have going forward.
So that'll be coming to them.
That is later this month, it's the Monday before Thanksgiving, which is the 26th.
22nd. Whatever that Monday is before Thanksgiving.
The Monday before Thanksgiving. I can look it up.
The 23rd.
23rd.
23rd. Thank you.
So we will have a meeting on that Monday, and then we will only have the one meeting in December. And then starting in January, when we do not have any general business, we will be doing study sessions on various topics that will need to be addressed in the ULUC, and starting to get your input on those. So I hope you all enjoyed your Mondays off, because you're not going to have any. Excellent. That is all I have.
Okay. Well, remember Planning Commission several years ago, probably before most of you, we were always complaining that we didn't have enough, and half to 2/3 of our meeting were canceled. So I complained about it one time, and our former community development director had a gleam in her eyes. She said, guess what? You guys are going to be busy, and we are, which is great. We're earning our salary. Any commissioner comments?
Just one. No, I'd like to make a comment. Jennifer, you touched on it, the fact that these Envision meetings have come right before our Planning Commission meetings. And we've had this discussion about perhaps taking a look into the future to see if that could be avoided. And from what I could see, from what I could catch for the upcoming ones, and there's quite a few, they're always falling on Mondays. I find that a little... it's not very easy to throw that on to the Planning Commission and to do it consistently throughout the entire process. So I do wish that would be looked at. It just seems inappropriate to be consistently doing it for every single Envision meeting, knowing that we are encouraged to attend and then having to go into our meeting like this. So that is my comment.
Yeah, I realize on the December one, that was a scheduling thing that we could not avoid with this particular applicant. But going into the new year, we will make sure that we protect those Mondays, that we do have a studio if we have one on a Monday, that we do not schedule anything for Planning Commission afterwards. So I sincerely apologize on that one.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Craig, you wanted to
And
say something?
I just had a question for Jennifer and Mike, perhaps. I recall seeing an email or some outreach from a citizen, I think that's been involved with the PEL process on Santa Fe, suggesting that perhaps could be applied to some of our corridor planning. And I wonder if that's been considered. I'm not that familiar with PEL or whether it's even applicable here. But is there any benefit to considering that?
For our corridor study?
Yes.
It absolutely will play a part. So and I do believe now that you're mentioning that, Craig, that I talked about sending you kind of the summaries that council has been receiving. So I will gather those up and send those to you so you can see how that process is moving along. But yes, outcomes of that, and not outcomes, because it won't be complete by the time we're done with our corridor block. But what they have so far in terms of the summaries will definitely be taken into consideration.
I think there's two parts. That one is how it applies to the corridor, the Santa Fe corridor, but it seems like the gentleman who suggested it was suggesting that it might actually work for Broadway as well.
There may be an eventual PEL for Broadway if bus rapid transit comes, but right now there is not a PEL in the works for Broadway.
Okay, thank you.
I could see that happening, maybe less scope than Santa Fe, which is numero uno here. I only sat through some of the meeting prior to our Planning Commission meeting. They talked about the main corridors. They left out Mineral. Was there a reason for leaving Mineral off and only doing Santa Fe, Littleton Boulevard, Broadway, and Bellevue?
Yes, there is. Mineral will be part of our business commercial block.
Okay. And it's pretty well built out and not really open for a lot of change like the other corridors. So, okay, makes sense. I have no other comments. Anyone else before we adjourn? Seeing none, we're adjourned at 8:54. Thank you very much for all your input.